Hey everyone, Miss T here with part 2 of the DBQ Evidence series. Before you watch this video, you may actually want to go back and consider watching part 1, which describes different types of evidence like text, subtext, and context. And then in this video, we are going to look at how those things are relevant to the AP Social Studies DBQ. So HIPP is our acronym for historical sourcing methods that you can use to determine the background information of the document that you're using. HIPP stands for historical situation, intended audience, purpose, and point of view. And different programs use different variations like Hippo, HAP, Happy, etc. But I'm sticking with HIPP because that's the poster I already have in my classroom. Now, for our DBQs, technically all of our sourcing methods are contextual in a way because they are all information that goes with the text. And because College Board is a benevolent overlord, they often give you some clues to that contextual information with your document, like who the original author is, who they're addressing, the date, location. But because that information could have been given to you, merely stating it in your essay is not enough. Just like with your text evidence, you have to then explain how or why that information helps determine, specify, or clarify the meaning of the text evidence or document so that it better supports your thesis. So while it's always good to try to determine as much contextual information as possible, not all of the HIPP sourcing methods will actually be helpful in making your argument. And it's up to you in the course of your essay to find that sweet spot between what HIPP information you can produce and what information you can actually use. Let's start by looking at an example from the AMSCO Unit 4 DBQ, which is on page 268 if you want to go pull it up. So just as a reminder, the prompt for this particular DBQ was develop an argument that evaluates the extent to which states managed to consolidate and expand their power during the period 1450 to 1750. So I don't want to go through the whole DBQ. I really only want to look at two specific documents. The first one being document 3, which you should be able to see on the screen there. That highlighted portion, that is the text, right? And it says basically two things. One, we will keep being serfs as long as you can show us where exactly in the Bible it says that serfdom is okay. Otherwise, we would like to just be regular free peasants. The second thing it says is that we would really like to just have an impartial justice system with a codified, written, and recorded law, so there's no sneaky business. So that was the text evidence. What you should see highlighted now is some contextual information, the authors or creators, and then when and where this document was created. Remember, since that information is given to you, that is not enough to get a hit point. You can't just restate that information and leave it. You have to actually explain how that information connects to and supports your thesis. So that contextual information, though, can actually give us more contextual information. For instance, the time and place. This is Germany in the first half of the 16th century. You know what else happened in Germany in the first half of the 16th century? The Protestant Reformation, 1518 specifically, so about 5 years before this protest. Well, that's cool, but how is it relevant here? Remember, the protests of Martin Luther set off a whole bunch of other protests. Peasants said to themselves, well, if Luther can sass the highest spiritual authority in the world, maybe we can ride this crazy revolution wave to more social and political freedoms because being a serf wicked sucks. Furthermore, we can directly connect their first point in the text to the words of Martin Luther. Only do what's specifically in the scripture sounds a lot like sola scripturae. So knowing that historical event was taking place when this was written is important in understanding why the peasants say what they said. It also shows us how the German rulers were doing in consolidating their power in this time period. I would argue, based on this document alone, not very well, because centuries of the oppressive manorial system made their subjects ready to just pop off at the first opportunity, that first opportunity being hearing and accepting the religious teachings of Martin Luther. However, that actually leads us to another document in the DBQ, document 5. Right, document 5 is a secondary source about the 30 Years' War. The 30 Years' War was fought between 1618 and 1648. That's given to us. What isn't given to us, but is still factual information that you can bring to the table, is that it was fought within the Holy Roman Empire between Protestant and Catholic forces over religious freedoms within the Holy Roman Empire. At least that's what we've been taught. But the content of this document suggests that there were multiple motivating factors. And this is where it becomes important for us to use our understanding of history to make a connection between the contextual information of document 3 and the contextual information of document 5. Specifically, the fact that Germany between 1450 and 1750 was part of the Holy Roman Empire and therefore part of this religious war. This actually gives new significance to both documents 3 and 5. It suggests that between 1524 and 1618, the princes of the Holy Roman Empire, including those of Germany, figured out how to use the peasants' religious beliefs to their own political and economic advantage, which changes the argument that we said for document 3, that instead now it looks like the leaders of Western Europe were actually making progress in consolidating their power. Does the idea of using religion as the basis for a conflict that would work to the leader's own political and economic advantage sound somewhat familiar to you? It should, because that's basically what happened in the Crusades a few centuries before this. So it's not like it's a new concept for the Western Europeans. And knowing that pattern can help you make your thesis and argument even stronger. There is your outside evidence point. So for document 3, we use the creator's point of view. That is, what we knew about the peasants that would explain why they said what they said, specifically that the peasants were part of this Protestant Reformation, which taught the idea of sola scripturae. And for both documents, we examine the historical situation of the Protestant Reformation and Germany's status as a principality of the Holy Roman Empire to help show and argue that the states were successfully consolidating power in the early modern era. All of the information that we used was contextual. It was factual and could easily be confirmed by a Google search. It was not inferred based on what we read, like subtext would be, even though, yes, we had some clues to get us in the right direction. So I hope these 2 videos have helped make things just a little bit clearer in regards to HIPP and evidence in your DBQ. For more help with how to specifically argue with the documents, both the text and the context, I suggest checking out Heibler's history on YouTube. His AP DBQ playlist includes a video on exactly that. All right, everyone, stay well, wash your hands, eat a vegetable, keep social distancing, and of course, be kind to yourself and others. Bye.